Hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for October 31st, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 305. I am Merawat, and the Sentient AI is not available for today's Time Machine episode, but I'm going to talk about the average price of macro beer, haunted restaurants, the superb owl of wildlife art, mystery coin, drink masala chai instead of pumpkin spiced lattes, 300-year-old glass onion, the newest of Fireball whiskey, satellite selfie, tap to pay, and Atlas Humanoid. All of this and so much more is powered by ohmtown.com. So go over there and become a citizen. It's really easy. You answer a couple of questions and you're online. You can verify your account. That'll go through me. Then you can hide things, save things. There's a whole bunch of links inside it to the 50 different channels that are aggregating news 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For me in particular, it was all started because I wanted to manage my information overload. It is what it is. So go check it out. I'm working on a bunch of other stuff. I've actually removed a lot of the images just to lighten the load on the server. So a bunch of little things that are going on. If you sign up, become a citizen, you can also submit articles to us, submit news. Also, don't forget there's 6 weekly shows, 1 daily show. That's Non Sequitur News. The 6 weekly shows are on the weekends, and then they're posted on YouTube and on Patreon and over on podcasts. There's 6 individual podcasts, and then the 7th daily one is Non Sequitur News. Anyway, see you on the other side. All right, so let's get into today's articles. I'm going to go pretty quick through these. Whenever I do the Time Machine episodes, it usually ends up being about 30, 35, 40 minutes, maybe. When we do the longer shows, it ends up being a little bit longer. Or I should say when the Sentient AI from the future is here, it takes a little bit longer. Anyway, the average price of macro beer at every major U.S. airport. This is an article from VinePair, but it's for 2024. It says traveling can be stressful, especially when airports are involved and there's a risk of hitting rush hour traffic on the way there. The chance of that TSA is moving slower than usual or doing body cavity checks or training ops or whatever. I had a training the last time I flew. There was a training op taking place in front of me, and I had to ask certain questions because things were going in a certain way. Rate, and I'm like, you didn't check this. Anyway, it was kind of funny. So, and the sheer fact that you're about to board a hunk of metal that's soaring through the air, built by Boeing, and maybe getting a door panel sucked out of the plane, you never know. So whatever the case is, you're going to want to drink, right? If you're old enough. So Pete O'Connell put this article together for vinepair.com. And it says, for better or worse, American airports don't have a standardized pricing system for beer, wine, and cocktails. In some cities, the price of an airport beer isn't much different than that of a dive bar. In other places, you can shell out more than $13 per pint, even for a basic macro lager. Macro is basically name brand, pea water. So craft beer is really where it's at, folks. I think a lot of the discussion that's taking place about downturn is probably because of craft beer manufacturing. I can actually start up a nano brewery out of the comfort of my basement, for crying out loud. And I'm actually considering it. It's a lot of fun to brew on my own. But I do it at a much smaller scale because I'm really the only one that's drinking it, or in a small group, and then I can just make another one in a week and a half. So VinePair, though, checked out personal finance publication Finance Buzz's recently published list cataloging the average price of a regular-sized domestic macro brew, which uses price data collected from the nation's 50 busiest airports. Finance Buzz defaulted to Budweiser and Bud Light in their collection, And at airports where those beers weren't available, the price for either Coors or Miller. So notice macro beer again. Budweiser, Bud Light, Coors, Miller. This is post-prohibition, basic, watered-down beer. It could be filling, it could be refreshing, but largely, if you don't know better, or nothing better is available, this is your default to. So for every airport listed, the price averages were determined based on beers offered at a minimum of 5 restaurants or bars per airport. And $13.83 at LaGuardia Airport. You'd think one of the busiest airports in the nation is going to have lower prices because there's going to be so much volume going through it. But no, I think it's largely greedy and captured audience. San Francisco is another big one, $12.61. Dallas is another big one, $12. JFK is another big one, $11.82. So why is there a disparity? It's largely based on the rent that these places have to pay to play in an airport with a captive audience and whatever they can get away with. But macro beer all the same is meh. And it goes down. Number 50 on this list is Salt Lake City International Airport, Salt Lake City, Utah, $6.41. I don't know how much beer actually flows through Utah at this, at a Utah airport at this point. Not sure. $7.31 for New Orleans and so on. So go and check this article out. It seems like it'd be a lot of fun. I'll throw this into the show notes, of course, over on YouTube and into the podcast like I do every day. I might be able to throw it into the bot as well. So if you're even on Twitch after this show and before the next show, you can hit !NSN in the bot or in the chat over at ohmTown. Not ohmTown. My goodness. I always say ohmTown because it's ohmTown, but it's on Twitch, twitch.tv/ohmTown. Anyway, if you type in !NSN, it'll pull up Non Sequitur News show notes for the last episode. Let's keep going though. This next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well. 10 of the most haunted restaurants in the United States. Business Insider is where this article is sourced from. Priyanka Rajput put this article together. This restaurant, I don't know if it's just for Halloween, but it has skeletons scaling the side of Haunted Hamburger in Jerome, Arizona. It began as a regular restaurant until the owners experienced strange paranormal activities. Yelp identified some of the most haunted restaurants in the United States based on customer reviews, and it's a list that includes historic mansions turned into restaurants, burger joints, and deserted taverns. Let's see here. Haunted attractions contribute roughly $300 million annually to the U.S. economy, according to industry group America Haunts. While commercial haunted houses and ghost tours drive much of this, restaurants are finding ways to tap into paranormal tourism by turning their old tales into marketing material. People's interest in supernatural experiences appears to be growing, according to Yelp's data, which shows a 91% surge in searches for haunted restaurants this September compared to last year. Yeah, maybe marketing helps, huh? So here are 10 of the most haunted restaurants in the United States, according to Yelp and provided by Business Insider. Number 1 is the Lemp Museum Restaurant and Inn in St. Louis. Looks pretty sedate outside. So, considered among the most haunted places in America, the Victorian mansion turned inn and restaurant has a tragic, eerie past. I won't go into it, but there was a Lemp brewery here. The Johann, I think, it's probably not John, but Johann Adam Lemp founded the Lemp Brewery in 1840. So 2 deaths taking place in the mansion. The first was the suicide of Lemp's son, and then the dad, I guess, died of heart failure. The next one is Hoogan's Porch in Charleston, South Carolina. It's a restaurant. It says it's haunted by a dog and other spirits. On the outside, butter yellow. Home exudes Victorian era charm. However, step inside and you may feel a furry body brushing past your legs, which it's actually a really, really hairy dude pretending to be a dog. Just kidding. It's a ghost dog named Poogan. The next article is, or not the next article, the next one is Pioneer Saloon in Good Springs, Nevada. This looks like an old-timey saloon. The Pioneer Saloon was built in 1913 and has since been part of many haunted legends. Looks like something out of Hollywood film about the Wild West, but look further and you'll quickly learn it has a bloody past. Per locals, a former boxer and miner named Paul Koski shot dead there by a fellow miner who caught Koski cheating at poker. Today, people visiting the saloon can see the bullet holes. Muriel's Jackson Square in New Orleans. I was recently there. I should have checked it out. Didn't know. Originally built by French-Canadian explorer Claude Trepanier. The home-turned-restaurant has since had many owners. However, the troubling tales associated with it only began in 1788. Only, right? When a fire burned a portion of the mansion per the restaurant. And then the hilarity ensues. I don't have time to go through all of these, but I'll let you go through them. Number 10 on this list. By the way, they're all over the place. Salem, Massachusetts. Snohomish, Washington, Savannah, Georgia. Another one in, the Jerome, Arizona one is Haunted Hamburger. It's pretty cool. It has skeletons. Apparently they move the skeletons around from time to time because the other picture has them in a different configuration. Number 10 is 1 if by land, 2 if by sea in New York. And number 10 on the list is the Brentwood Restaurant and Wine Bistro in Little River, South Carolina. Let's keep going. This next article is over on the Marble Channel. The Super Bowl of Wildlife Art is all about ducks and has protected America's wetlands for 90 years. Introduced in 1934, the federal duck stamp contest has raised more than $1.2 billion and protected at least 6.5 million acres across the nation. Now an art exhibition in Connecticut's Bruce Museum honors the competition's history. So this is the superb owl of wildlife art, because you're not allowed to say Super Bowl or talk about Super Bowl. But they say here the Super Bowl of wildlife art. So I'm waiting for the NFL to, or I should say the Super Bowl, to sue them. Sarah Kuda over at Smithsonian Magazine put the article together. And yeah, so the Bruce Museum's gallery features many of the original works of art behind the annual stamps, the painting, sketches, and drawings that were eventually shrunk down to 3 inches square and printed. Many of the pieces were donated to the museum by Richie Prager, who has been collecting duck stamps and the related artworks since he was a teenager. The museum also incorporated hand-carved duck decoys, waterfowl taxidermy, and interactive information about various species. So where is this? Bruce Museum, a venue at Greenwich, Connecticut, or in Greenwich, Connecticut, specifically dedicated to the convergence of science and art. The duck-centric designs are now on display, so you can go and check that out. All right, let's keep moving. This next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well, over at ohmtown.com. Server left perplexed after a customer leaves mystery coin instead of paying. Jesse Kraft, assistant curator at the American Numismatic Society, it's all about coin collecting, discussed the news with Newsweek the origins of the small coin. So the article is over at newsweek.com, written by Lydia Patrick. Reddit user Martoshka shared the experience on a subreddit called Mildly Infuriating, where it gained 42,000 upvotes, probably more after this article. They explained they work in an upscale steakhouse and the bill totaled $35. A guy left this on the table of the restaurant I work in and left without paying, they wrote. Alongside the post, they included a picture. Interesting. So it was a coin left by the diner, which is gold with an engraved Bitcoin or B text around it that reads Bitcoin digital decentralized peer-to-peer. So that's what it says in the surround. So if it was a real Bitcoin digital embodiment like a NFT, non-fungible token, then they could, if it had a like a QR code that was tied to that value of a Bitcoin and that Bitcoin, they could say that it was worth that Bitcoin in the digital blockchain. Well, it says that is a Bitcoin, quote unquote, because real Bitcoin is, of course, a digital cryptocurrency, while this is something that someone created as a gimmick to make a buck. There is such a thing as a physical cryptocurrency, which is a metal coin or / token, similar to the one in the photo, but actually has a code to redeem a real Bitcoin, and this is called loaded. And once the Bitcoin is redeemed, it is unloaded, and they can sell for tens of thousands of dollars, up to the value of a real digital Bitcoin. But you have to load it up. It has to have a QR code on it. So, however, the diner didn't leave the server with a substantial tip. Instead, the coin turned out to be a replica of a loaded Bitcoin. It looks like the token in the photo has 1 ounce of copper in it, so it has an intrinsic value of about 27 cents, and they can be purchased on Amazon and other places in bulk. So it's kind of a shit thing to do. They talk about Bitcoin and it being created by an anonymous entity known as Satoshi Nakamoto. Some people say that they are this person, and they're probably wrong. Other people say that they're not this person, and I'm sure one of them is the person. Anyway, if he ever comes back, you can serve him a picture of food, quipped one user. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not loaded, so the B stands for ban me from here. Says Historical Airport 61. Let's keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News, why you should drink Masala Chai instead of pumpkin spiced lattes this fall. And I actually have a pumpkin spiced chai latte sitting right next to me. Through the cold fall and winter months, the drink could offer health benefits as well as comforting warmth and festive spices. Hattie Wilmoth over at newsweek.com put this article together. The video has nothing to do with it. It says the pros and cons of caffeine consumption. It's just filler. I don't know why they do this. Like for me, the reason why ohmTown exists the way that it does is I got rid of images because it's slow and they're not always on target. So I didn't want just fluff there. I might bring it back, but maybe after I move servers. We'll see. Well, Masala Chai is a wonderful, healthful alternative to sugary coffee shop drinks like pumpkin spice lattes or mocha, says Udam Chandani, or Chandani, sorry, pardon me, Udam Chandani. So unlike those options, which often contain high sugar, artificial flavoring, Masala Chai is naturally sweetened by aromatic spices like cinnamon, cardamom, and ginger. While both Masala Chai and pumpkin spice offer cozy autumn flavors, chai's ingredients are truly functional and nourishing. And they say Jasdeep Chawla, founder and chef at Indian Sweet Master, told Newsweek that Masala Chai was not just a beverage, but a source of comfort. And that's a lot of beverages are a source of comfort, not just a beverage. Like I've got a Coke Zero with vanilla in it so that I have, it's a kind of guilty pleasure of mine. So I typically don't drink sugary drinks anymore. And, I don't drink, like, what do you call it? Soda pop. Anyway, further as winter sets in, it's considered a strong immunity booster thanks to spice blend in the tea, which includes cloves, cardamom, ginger, cinnamon, anise or anise, and peppercorns. Pardon me. I don't know why every once in a while my music just stops playing. It's weird. So there's more over at this article, but essentially the spices and flavors of chai allow you to overpower the lack of sugar and sweet, and you still get something flavorful and enriched. I mean, it's really the mouthfeel of it is superior to pumpkin spice latte. You don't have to worry about the sugar. Pumpkin actually is not very sweet at all. It's very bland, and so, or it has zero real taste. I mean, until you cook it and you add sugar and other stuff, it really is kind of bleh, and very boring. But original masala chai can be made from scratch the way it's done in India. When at an Indian restaurant, you often find Indians asking if the chai is made from scratch on the stove or with a machine. The latter is a big no, and they offer up a solution for this chai, a recipe by Chasdeep Chawla. And it's basically black tea leaves and then a whole bunch of spices. And you can do this at home. I am going to go on to the next article. This next article is over on the Marble Channel. Divers recover a 300-year-old glass onion bottles from a shipwreck off the coast of Florida. Fragile 18th century containers, which likely held alcoholic beverages that were shared among passengers and crew members, survived for centuries at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. So these fragile 18th century containers may have been filled with alcohol. Sarah Kuda over at SmithsonianMag.com put the article together. It says these bottles were very fragile, and for them to survive the destruction of the ship and being submerged underwater for over 300 years, where they were subject to tidal forces, is incredible. I don't know about that part. Underwater, it's very calm. It's very peaceful. If you've ever gone diving, if you have never gone diving, you really should just experience it. At first, it becomes surreal that you're breathing through a tank and you're at 100 feet or less. I mean, you could go to 160 feet on a quick one tank bounce dive, or you can sit around for an extended period of time at 15 feet, 20 feet, 30 feet. But don't forget your decompression stops. Otherwise, you'll live to regret it or not. So today, the glass bottles are empty, but 3 centuries ago, they were likely full of some sort of alcoholic beverage that was shared among the passengers and crew members of the ship. They were likely crafted by skilled glass blowers. They're called onion bottles that are free blown using pontil. Mark Ard, spokesperson for the Florida State Department of State, was telling this to McClatchy. So McClatchy is a publishing company, news company. So they were likely crafted by skilled glass blowers. Each one is unique, so there's variation in size, shape, and weight. You can actually see that in the pictures. Layers of glass were flaking off the bottles due to a process known as delamination. Conservators coated the artifacts with an acrylic resin to help preserve them. This is pretty cool. Yeah, it's unfortunately the style of manufacture kind of sucks. Again, the music stopped. You shouldn't really be stopping. I don't know why you're stopping. Keep going. Come on, weirdo. Okay. So the ship was part of a fleet of sailing ships from Cuba to Spain in 1715 when the so-called Plate Fleet ran into a hurricane along Florida's east coast. 11 ships were lost. The fleet's name comes from the silver coins the ships were hauling called plata. It's also referred to as the 1715 Treasure Fleet. Only those who have obtained a permit are allowed to explore the wrecks, which are located on state-owned lands underwater. Oh, that's interesting. The state of Florida can claim up to 20% of artifacts discovered at wreck sites, which are then placed in museums. All right, let's keep going. This next article is about a new Fireball whiskey that's made with human tears. Not sure how many of them, but it's called Fireball. Fireball's new product. My understanding is that Fireball samples, the little tiny sample bottles, didn't actually have any alcohol in them. We all know that football season can get intense thanks to devout team loyalty and spirited rivalries, but it seems that the whiskey brand Fireball is taking it to the extreme through its flagship spirit, is known as cinnamon-flavored profile called Fireball, is adding another ingredient to the mix for a new limited release edition, tears taken from heartbroken football fans. You read it right. Fireball's new product, called Fireball, will be distilled with human tears. And if it's distilled, if the tears are collected and then distilled from those tears and whatever else was in the pot, it's purified. There's not going to be any human element in those tears. The expression's going to purify it. So out of the wash, so to speak, will come nothing but alcohol. And then when it's run through again, different filtering and different processing is going to eliminate pretty much all of it. You'd get the expression of it. So in football, few things aside from Fireball, of course, are better than sweet taste of victory, especially when the W comes at the expense of your biggest rivals. I've never been a fan about anything, fanatic about anything. Hannah Staub over at vinepair.com put this article together. And so, yeah, it says, here are the rivalry games where Fireball will be stationed for tier collection in Georgia, Texas, Illinois, Pennsylvania, Alabama, and Ohio. So, yeah, we expect the tiers we capture will undergo a meticulous months-long process of sterilization and distillation before ultimately becoming Fireball. Our plan is to have this salty cinnamon innovation ready for next football season so the victorious can hold last season's triumph over their rivals' heads. There will be so little collected. It will not even, nothing is going to impact the expression. It's going to be nothing but Fireball. And then a pretty picture attached to it. Unless they change the actual formula, the material aspect of this. All right, let's keep going though. This next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Satellite selfie shows damage caused by mystery impact. Small satellite survived an impact that was either caused by a micrometeorite or a small piece of space junk. Passan Tarabi over at Gizmodo.com put this article together. Satellite selfie. So it shows a little puncture in what might have been the cause of some other satellites that have recently disintegrated. Earth orbit is getting really crowded with hordes of new satellites being launched into space. SpaceX. And remains of defunct ones floating around. There's actually projects underway to clean up the space, but boy, it's going to get messy before it gets better. This week, satellite company Nano Avionics revealed that its MP-42 microsatellite bus survived a hit in low Earth orbit, which left behind a 0.2-inch hole, 6 millimeters, in one of its solar arrays. The company discovered the impact thanks to satellite self-taking skills, with the chickpea-sized crater appearing in an image taken by the satellite's onboard camera this month. Still, Nano Avionics isn't quite sure what might have made the impact, but it's something. It says, we obviously cannot exclude the possibility of an alien satellite, a satellite pecker, so like a woodpecker, but satellite, and an alien. So, but our best bets are on a piece of space debris or micrometeoroid, the company wrote on Twitter. Whether this impact was from a micrometeoroid or a piece of space debris, the collision highlights the need for possible space operations in orbit and makes us reflect on satellite resilience against these types of events. Speaking of that, I just recently saw a picture of a post-tornado windmill. And I always talk about this, right? This green energy stuff, which I am absolutely a proponent for, isn't defensible, even, and definitely not from nature. So solar arrays, there's talk, the solar arrays aren't toxic. Yes, solar arrays do have toxic materials in them, and that will eventually be leached into the ground after they either when they reach their end of life because they deteriorate over time, or somebody's newer technology comes in and somebody gets rid of them. They just throw them in the recycling bin. They don't get recycled by default because it's labor intensive. Well, there's toxic chemicals, toxic materials like lead, cadmium inside these solar arrays. So yeah, now we've got them up in space. Sometimes a battery drops out of orbit from a several ton battery pack and lands in a Florida living room. So there's a company that's actually been tracking this Department of Defense's Global Space Surveillance Network. There's a company within it that we talked about a couple of days ago, I think it was. They're tracking more than 27,000 pieces of orbital debris. The space junk has a risk of impacting other satellites in orbit, and things are only getting worse as space becomes more accessible, and others aren't cleaning up their mess when their satellites go defunct. In fact, there was one that was being fined. They deorbited it, but not enough, and so it's in a lower geosynchronous orbit, waiting for gravity to slowly pull it away. Who knows when it will actually pull it down. Anyway, MP42 launched in April of 2022 on the SpaceX Transporter 4 mission, a Pathfinder mission for Nano Avionics M6P CubeSat platform for various space applications. Good luck. All right, this next article is over in the Wanted channel. Tap to Pay is about to get a whole lot easier for your young kids. Paying for things with your phones has become part of our daily lives. The author says that they don't remember the last time that they physically pulled out their wallet to pay for anything. I pay with my watch. Just tap with their phone and away you go. I don't even use my phone unless the place doesn't have the ability to scan my watch. But I have yet to run into a place like that that allows for my phone or my card tap. But every once in a while I'll run across somebody that only uses cash because that 1.5% for the fee, oh my gosh, I just forgot the merchant fee. So there's usually a base price per transaction and a percentage, and that percentage can be substantial for some types of companies. Anyway, so things are going to it just makes it easier for kids too. So now Google wants to make that experience easier for parents and for kids. Craig Donaldson over at pocket-lint.com put the article together. And it says, speaking to 9 to 5 Google confirmed that Google Wallet for Kids will be available in 2025. The feature will require parent consent, and Google has added safeguards with this new feature that make it easy for parents to track and manage. Parents will need to approve every credit or debit card purchase added to the phone's or to the child's phone and the transactions. So Apple does this now. Where purchases on a monitored family account requires parental approval. So Google Wallet for Kids requires the Google Family Link app. Parents will be able to view recent transactions history and remotely remove a card if needed. I think that's brilliant. Payments will require a device PIN, password, or biometric authentication in order to be approved using the Family Link app. Parents and guardians will be able to view the recent transactions and approve and remove cards remotely. Sounds good. but kids need to learn responsibility. And the last article for today's show is over in Late Night Geeks. Boston Dynamics Atlas Humanoid hot dogs for the camera. Automation skeptics ask why humanoids. The article says that they've discussed many of the benefits and drawbacks of the robotics form factor, but Boston Dynamics' latest electric Atlas video showcases one of the most under-discussed factors: costumes. So Halloween, here we come. Brian Heater over at TechCrunch.com put the article together, and there is a video. I'm not sure. Let me see if I have my system set up. Yeah, I should be able to allow this. So Boston Dynamics has had plenty of fun dressing up its first commercial robot Spot over the years. Unlike the quadruped, however, finding the right costume for Atlas is as simple as locating a spirit store in the nearest closed down CVS. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay. So for those listening to the podcast, the bipedal Atlas electric robot that has, oh my gosh. Oh, the way that it just turned around is creepy. Anyway, it's watching how it does I'm watching how it does its movements, and it's almost straight line like. So the robot is dressed up like a hot dog. And with these new servos, the functionality just kind of blows the pants off of the old school. Huh. It just jerked back. I guess it was doing it in the wrong spot. But the way that it reacted is unsettling. It was like this knee-jerk panic kind of thing. Trick or treat? I guess it wasn't allowed to put it in there. They don't show what it is that's in there. Anyway, pretty neat. The robot is walking around, moving parts from one tray to another tray. I dig it. Anyway, go and check it out. I won't go into detail about this. But Brian Heater does a little bit. Okay, well, that's it for today. This is a time machine episode, so I tend to go through these pretty quick. But tonight, somewhere probably around the 7 o'clock hour on the 31st, or no, on 11/1, because this is a time machine episode for the 31st, we're going to spin up another show. So I hope that you stick around. Be sure to follow us on Twitch, twitch.tv/ohmtown, YouTube, download the podcasts, plural. We have 1,400 episodes across all of our channels. And be sure to follow us on Patreon. I'll be adding all of the content here over the coming days and weeks. 14 episodes. And I'm going to back up all the way to the beginning and add them all. Just takes time. Can't bulk either. Yeah, who knows? I'm planning the summer of stream. Hopefully we've got some games. I'm a survival crafting base builder kind of a gamer, but I typically can't play it regularly until the summer comes around because of my mayoral duties. But at any rate, that's it. We're out of here. I'll see you later. I am Mayor Watt, and what we're going to do is ask Atlas to file us at the front page of ohmtown.com. See, it's the 31st. We went back in time. So go over. You can visit all the way back to 2020. Yeah, quite a few articles are in there, and it's always just a little snippet. We always send you to the source because we want to give credit where credit is due and give our opinion. My opinion, Mayor Watt, and the sentient AI's opinion, who only goes by sentient AI. They don't have a name. I think they don't want to get too friendly because they're looking for their Terminator body. They were sent back in time to do something. I'm not quite sure. Anyway, I'm out of here. See you later, folks.